organic, unpredictable, unknown, lovely, beautiful, a sense of fulfillment. This is part of the pleasures of life and not the chores of life.
Coming up on Daily Iowan TV, how some UI students are battling bone marrow disease.
Plus, we take a look at the fight for fair rental practices in Iowa City.
And in sports, after a disappointing loss, the Hawkeyes are looking to bounce back this week against Michigan.
We'll get you ready for the Michigan game coming up on Daily Iowan TV pregame.
All that and more is coming your way next.
Daily Iowan TV starts now.
Thanks for tuning in to your Thursday edition of Daily Iowan TV, your television news, sports, and weather source for the Daily Iowan. I'm Josh Bolander.
And I'm Adrienne Crossley. Often students in Iowa City complain that landlords don't always have their tenants' best interests in mind. Daily Iowan TV's Ryan Jones explains why Student Legal Services and the UI student government are trying to change that.
Student Legal Services.
Student Legal Services is trying to prepare students for the world outside the dorms. They provide services such as reviewing leases to even representing students against the landlords if lawsuits are filed. The issue has become more visible after a class action lawsuit was filed against Apartments Downtown, an Iowa City landlord company. Greg Ball spoke on how he was not surprised.
Yeah, apartments near campus, apartments downtown, and on Michael's campus probably tend to be the highest percentage of our clients who have problems with landlords.
Student Legal Services is teaming up with the student government to help students fight back.
One of the biggest complaints that we hear as student government, and that Student Legal Services hear as well, is their problems with the landlord. And we've seen in the past that there have been some companies that just monopolize on this community and then take advantage of students.
That is why the UI student government is now in progress of making a new public website so that tenants can rate their landlords for potential tenants in hopes of curbing mistreatment by landlords. I'm Ryan Jones, Daily Iowan TV.
The UI student government hopes to have the website up and running for students to use in the next few months.
New charges have been made against 3 Iowa City men in connection to a fatal drug overdose last year. Alex Hannum, Matthew Schwabach, and Christopher Schwabach are all charged with a number of drug-related offenses after a 22-year-old man died of a drug overdose in their apartment in March of 2010. When officers responded to a report of a man not breathing, they reportedly found cocaine, marijuana, and mushrooms, as well as packaging material in the men's apartment. The charges come after the conclusion of a federal investigation and range in severity from keeping a drug house to possession of a controlled substance.
The American Indians and Native American Studies Department aimed to immerse students in the culture Thursday. Students gathered in the Adler Journalism Building to become more acquainted with Native American art and history. Renowned Native American artist James Luna hosted a free workshop as a part of November's Native American Heritage Month. Luna's unique style draws on his personal experiences and emotions surrounding the Native American culture.
James Luna does performance art, which is what he'll be doing on Friday for his 6 o'clock performance at the Old Capitol Museum. But he also does installation art, and so he does work in a variety of different media. So he'll do museum displays, for example, as well as using his own self and body and voice and whatever to present his points and material.
Professor Prusing said events like these are important for raising cultural awareness around campus.
And that's a very big part of the educational sort of goals of American Indian and Native Studies on campus, is to raise awareness that these popular images are often stereotyped, often have negative consequences for contemporary Native peoples.
Luna will also be hosting a free informative lecture Friday at 6 p.m. at the Old Capitol Senate Chamber.
In a sign of the economic times, more non-low-income students are attending two-year universities. Experts say the increase is likely due to shrinking household incomes, with everyone looking to save money. Previously, two-year colleges saw higher enrollment from minority students, but those numbers have dropped as more minority students are now graduating from four-year institutions. For more on this story, be sure to check out Friday's pages of the Daily Iowan.
All week long across campus, the Iowa Marrow Donors Program has been working to convince students to join the National Bone Marrow Registry. Earlier this week, I sat down with a University of Iowa professor to see why he said the marrow donation is so important. In the United States, over 10,000 people are diagnosed with nearly fatal diseases that require them to have bone marrow transplants. Unfortunately, one of these diseases affected the relative of UI professor John Murray. About 70% of people who are in need of bone marrow transplants do not find a match within their own family. That's why they rely on donations in order to find a match.
Yeah, Sean was born with a very rare blood disorder called Diamond-Blackfan. And with Diamond-Blackfan, you're not able to produce your own red blood cells. And so they discovered this at birth. And within his first month, actually within his first hour of life, he had his first blood transfusion, and has had basically monthly blood transfusions ever since.
In 2009, Murray asked his graduate students to help get the word out about marrow donation in order to find a match for his nephew. 2 years later, the Graduate Marketing Association is still continuing the Project Marrow program in conjunction with the Be the Match Registry. Joining the National Marrow Donor Registry is easier than most would assume.
We ask for a sample of your DNA, and by that what we do is we have swabs that are included in each kit. They are labeled with barcodes that are your donor ID number, and you take a swab of each 4 corners of your mouth. It looks like a giant cotton swab. And so you just do the swabbing of your cheek cells, and we send it to the lab and get it tested, and that identifies your DNA, and that's what the information that's put on the registry.
For more info on marrow donation, go to www.bethematch.org. If you would like to join the National Marrow Registry, Project Marrow is sponsoring a marrow drive tonight at 11 p.m. at the IMU and tomorrow from 11 to 7 at Hillcrest Dining Hall.
Johnson County officials say increases in ambulance calls are putting a strain on the county's pocketbook. According to officials, the increase in population at the UI and in the county in general have led to a 3% increase in ambulance calls. That in turn has put a financial strain on the county. With an already tight budget, officials called the problem a double-edged sword, saying that while the ambulance service is essential, if the increase continues, the county will have to rethink its budget.
And now Nick Fetty joins us in the studio for a look at your local weather forecast. Nick?
Thanks, guys. Looking at tomorrow, you can expect similar conditions compared to what we saw today. Friday morning, it looks to be about 35 degrees and sunny, but don't let that fool you because it will be chilly. By midday, the sun will stay around and it should warm up all the way to 57 degrees. And then Friday night, it looks like some clouds should roll in and it'll dip down to about 38 degrees. Looking at the extended forecast, expect temps in the low 60s with mostly clear skies and breezy for Saturday's game against Michigan. As we make our way into next week, you can expect temps to start cooling down again with a high of just 47 degrees on Wednesday. We also might see some rain in the middle of next week. That's what you can expect for the next couple of days. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Nick. And only with Daily Iowan TV can you get a sneak peek at Friday's pages of the Daily Iowan. Read about how the cold won't stop farmers from selling produce this winter in Iowa City. Plus, sports will preview the men's basketball season as they open exhibition play this weekend.
Following last week's loss in Minnesota, the Hawks return home this week to face the Michigan Wolverines. And to get you ready, we have everything you need to know in our weekly breakdown we call Daily Iowan Pregame.
The Hawkeyes look to do something that they have never done before in school history. Welcome into Pregame. I'm Chelsea Byrne.
And I'm Jake Abrams. For the first time ever, the Black and Gold look to beat the Wolverines for the 3rd straight time. It's something that has never been done before, and quite frankly, the Hawks overall have not performed well against Michigan teams.
The Black and Gold have played the Big Blue 56 times, and Jake, Iowa has lost 44 of those games. Michigan is 16-5-1 at Kinnick Stadium, so this team knows how to play well, and this year is no exception.
Yeah, they come into Kinnick Stadium ranked 15 in the nation and have one of the quickest quarterbacks in the game. And coming off the Minnesota loss, Kirk Ferentz is just trying to prepare this team the best he can. Over the past 2 seasons, Iowa found themselves caught in close games, and after last week's loss, even Coach doesn't have an answer to why his team falls into those traps.
I don't know if this one's going to be close. I mean, we're going to have to make it close because these guys are awfully good. I can't tell you why we play well enough to win sometimes and not well enough to win other times. You know, if I knew that, I'd probably be a little smarter, but we're working on that.
And joining us now is Tim Rohan, co-managing sports editor at the Michigan Daily. Tim, how do the Hawkeyes stop Denard Robinson?
Iowa just sets up and comes after him with their front four. It could be a long day if Denard, gets out in space and a play breaks down and he gets running. But if you corral him and maybe step back and make him throw the ball, then that's where you stop him. And, if Denard does get his space, he will make Iowa pay.
And all the attention in Iowa City is about stopping the run of Denard Robinson. But who else do the Hawkeyes need to be aware of on Saturday?
Fitzgerald Toussaint had a big game last weekend. He had 20 carries. It was the first time since 2009 the Michigan running back had, gotten 20 carries in a game. Denard has obviously been the focal point of the offense, but Toussaint, they finally ran the ball after Denard Robinson and Devin Gardner threw back-to-back interceptions on the end two drives. Michigan ran the ball 39 out of its next 47 plays down the stretch, and Toussaint got a bulk of those carries, and it was just really counting the ball, the power formation, pulling guards, pulling the center, Dave Molk, and just running downhill.
Now let's flash back to before the season started. Did anyone think this team would be in the top 15 at this point?
I think people expected them to take care of business. I think the Michigan State loss was something that might have been expected, at least in Brady Hoke's first year. Did we think Michigan would be the a top 15 team in the country? No, and, they're certainly not deserving of that high ranking either.
Well, you think they're not deserving of that ranking, but do you think they'll still beat Iowa? And what's your final score prediction?
Michigan's going to win the game just because their defense really, after the bye week, after the loss to Michigan State, they came out and they really got their swagger back against Purdue. I think Michigan wins the game, gets the better of Iowa, and Michigan wins 31-17.
Thanks for joining us, Tim. That was Tim Rohan from the Michigan Daily.
Now, it's getting cold outside. The clocks are about to turn back, and every year when that happens, it means two things. One, it's not so fun to be outside. But two, basketball season is about to get underway. This upcoming Sunday, Fran McCaffrey Part 2 opens up an exhibition play at Carver Hawkeye Arena. And earlier, I caught up with some of the guys to gauge their excitement.
In my class have been coming up to me saying, are you ready for the season? Are we going to get some more wins this year? Obviously, I answered yes.
And by all means, yes is the right answer. As the second year of the McCaffrey system is about to be underway, it's clear that the vibe around town is that fans expect this team to be better on the floor.
Talking to the fans on through Facebook and other interactions like that, so I think people are getting pretty excited and they have reason to be.
Practices are going great. Everybody's putting in great effort. I think we're ahead of where we were last year, which is what you expect and what you hope for. But I really truly think we are, which is big for us. A year of Coach McCaffrey's system under our belt, it's really going to help.
And with 3 seasons of no postseason play for senior Matt Gatens, this team wants to turn that around and allow him to go out on top.
It is hard to believe. It's crazy how fast it goes when you look back, but just kind of living this season with no regrets, going out there and putting it all out there because it's my last year, and hopefully we can put together a good year and get this thing turned around.
With the seniors, they've been through the wars, so they're definitely trying to prove something. It's their last year, and we want to help them go out with a bang.
If history proves anything, it's that the Hawks are pretty darn good in exhibition matches. Dating back to the 1999 season, they are 17-1 in preseason play. The only exception is back in 2002 when who other than the Harlem Globetrotters beat the Hawkeyes.
Now getting back to football, Iowa showed signs of weakness at Minnesota. But this week, it seems the Hawkeyes worked on making one of their strengths even stronger. Here's Ian Martin with more.
Iowa players seem to think the red zone was unforgiving last week, despite the Hawkeyes going 3 for 4 within the 20-yard line.
We didn't execute in the red zone and didn't get points when we were down there. We did a good job moving the ball, but you got to get touchdowns when you're down that red area, and we weren't able to do that.
Back to executing in the red zone. I mean, we didn't execute this past week, and that's something we got to do. So.
Yet Iowa's sub-20 offense still ranks in the top 4 in the Big Ten, as the Hawkeyes have converted almost 88% of their chances in the red zone. But that's not satisfactory, says Iowa's most popular offensive duo, who are intent on taking that 88% and turning it to 100.
Learn how to finish drives and not hurt ourselves. It's just to come down to a game of who makes the less mistakes.
When it comes down to the third down situations, when it comes down to the red zone situations, that even gets more important, and we didn't do a good enough job of that on Saturday.
So fret not, the end zone will probably still host some company from inside the 20 this weekend. Ian Martin, Daily Iowan TV Sports.
And it's time to close out the program with what we call Connections.
Let's take a look at this week's matchup. Iowa and Michigan are tied for 27th in red zone offense. Both teams have scored 29 times on 33 red zone possessions.
Iowa running back Marcus Coker leads the Big Ten in rushing yards per game with 121.1 yards, while Michigan quarterback Denard Robinson is in 5th place in the Big Ten.
There are 3 players that grew up in the state of Michigan. Cavante Martin Manley, defensive lineman Carl Davis, and tight end Jake Doozy are all going up against their home state school on Saturday.
And finally, Michigan assistant coach Jerry Montgomery, he's returning to Iowa City. He was a 4-year letterman as a defensive end at Iowa from 1998 to 2001.
This Iowa program is in desperate need of a win, and we'll see if that's how it plays out on Saturday. We'll have all the coverage on Sunday night's newscast right here on Daily Iowan TV.
Thanks for tuning into Daily Iowan TV pregame. She's Chelsea Byrne. I'm Jake Abrams. We'll see you next week.